Almost a week after the IDF mistakenly killed 3 Israeli hostages, new details in the Israeli military's investigation into this tragic event has emerged. The IDF is revealing now that they may have actually helped these hostages escape Hamas captivity. Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari revealed that while in combat with Hamas, a canine dog equipped with a GoPro went into a building complex to clear the area. The dog was shot at, so Israeli soldiers fired back, killing the terrorists. The GoPro recorded voices, which were determined to be the 3 hostages: Yotam Hiem, Alon Shamriz, and Samar Talalka. Those 3 were apparently able to, as the IDF spokesman put it, embark on a, quote, heroic escape journey until that terrible tragedy, which occurred about a half-mile away. Now, I said this on the show earlier this week. This event is just horrible for Israel. It's shaken Israelis' faith in the IDF, not just because of the tragic deaths, but because it makes you wonder how careful the IDF has been in other cases with civilians trying to surrender. We're going to talk to them in a moment. Because the facts are terrible, right? 3 hostages seemed to make it clear they weren't a threat. They were shirtless, trying to show they didn't have explosives on them. They had a white cloth. And after the first 2 were shot, the 3rd escaped, yelled for help in Hebrew. The commander apparently called for the soldiers to stop. He got shot still. But Iris Haim, a mother of one of those hostages accidentally killed, still has a positive message for the troops, saying, "I know that everything that happened is completely not your fault. It's nobody's fault, except Hamas. May their name and memory be wiped off the face of the earth." She goes on to say, don't hesitate for a single moment. If you see a terrorist, don't think that you have deliberately killed a hostage. You need to protect yourselves, because that is the only way you would be able to protect us. It's quite the opposite of the message from the father of another one of the hostages that was killed.
I'm going to say this government, you murdered my son twice. You let the Hamas take my son on October 7th, and you killed my son on December 14th.
Now, the IDF came out, admitted that the hostage shootings were a violation of the rules of engagement. They've been straight about what happened. Israel has still made it clear that getting the other hostages home and eliminating Hamas are priorities. But today, Hamas making it clear that that isn't on the table, quote, until after there is a comprehensive cessation of aggression by Israel. Comes as somehow Hamas is apparently growing its influence, according to CNN, and that is maddening. This terror group intentionally murdered babies, raped women, launched rockets from the humanitarian zone while stealing stolen humanitarian aid. That's where we are. Joining me now is Major Doron Spielman, international spokesperson for the IDF. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it. So has this incident with the hostages, and now what you've learned more about this, has this changed anything on how you're dealing with either civilians in Gaza or in trying to rescue hostages?
Dan, thank you for having me. An event of this magnitude cannot but affect and change what's happening in the military. We have to understand that Israel is such a small country. We all know either hostages, soldiers in Gaza, people have been killed. I mean, it's one family, and this reverberates deeply, deeply through everyone, as you said. It is heartbreaking for our country, the entire story that came around this. And so right after this happened, very clear protocols were given down to every single infantry member that is in Gaza. And we have to understand, they are facing possibly the toughest urban warfare in the recent history of the world. Right? Out of every alleyway, there are Hamas fighters. They are coming out of tunnels. They are dressed like civilians in almost every single case. They are using pre-recorded cries in Hebrew to draw our troops into homes, which were released to the public. So they're trained to be very careful if they hear Hebrew, because it's often a bait. We understand this. We know what they're up against. But at the same time, we're coaching them to do their very best to discern between a hostage and between terrorists, when the terrorists often are dressing like hostages. And, we believe that we're going to do as good as possible. And
thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.